afternoon to you, our beloved viewers. You're welcome to Punch Sports Extra. On this day of the show, this is the very first edition for the month of October, and we have a whole lot to discuss with you today. We have a whole lot, it's been a wonderful football weekend. It's been a wonderful sporting weekend, actually. So we have a whole lot today to share with you. My name is Jannik on the show with you today, and here with me I have Olamide, who will join me on the show. Welcome to the show, Olamide.
It's lovely and nice to be here anytime.
Absolutely lovely and nice. This is actually the first time that myself and Olamide will be on the show together. And very quickly, before we begin, we'll take you real quick through the front page of Punch Sports, Sports Extra. And we have a big one here, a very good one. At that, what's his name now? Adams Ako is the big person on the page. This for the first time. Victor Osimhen is off the scene, although he's not entirely off the scene because of some things that happened over the weekend, especially with the Champions League and then in the Turkish league. However, I was starting with the big one, Adams Ako, who was pretty much influential in the victory in Sevilla's win against Barcelona. I'll take that again. It's not Sevilla's win. Sevilla's demolition. 4-1 demolition against Barcelona. That's how it ended, in the weekend. But the big man, the Nigerian guys are up on the scene with the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, who has been doing well. And, his coach has said there will be like a form of recovery. He vowed that he's going to revive Kelechi Iheanacho, I beg your pardon. But to start with, let's start with Adams Ako. It's the very first time he's getting called up to the Super Eagles. He was influential in the win for Sevilla against, Barcelona. He was influential in the first goal, and then he scored the last goal. What do you think about Adams Ako?
So I think the goal is coming at a very good time because for someone that has never been called to the Super Eagles main team, he has played in the age grade team over the years, but this is his first call up to the Super Eagles. And what a way to celebrate that than by scoring against the defending champion. And when you look at it, Barcelona are still unbeaten in the league, even though they lost to PSG during the midweek in the Champions League. But they've been unbeaten in the league, and he came in, I think, around 87th minute. When it came in, he scored a goal. The goal was, he came in at 63rd minute, he scored 87th minute, and the goal was chopped off due to offside. I felt like, no, that was not supposed to have been ruled out for offside. But, well, after that, Chidera Ejuke came in, another Nigerian, created a pinpointed pass for Adams to tap in, and so it was more like the finish was created here in Nigeria and it was delivered in Andalusia in Spain. And what a fantastic way to start a new week.
Talk about a finish created in Nigeria and carried out all out in Spain. We hope that they could replicate that when it comes to the Super Eagles. However, we're moving quickly to another Super Eagles who is not really flying high at the moment. He's the reigning African footballer of the year in person of Ademola Lookman. And I think his coach has come out to say that he's going to struggle. He's had a pretty tough time with the transfer. He was unable to secure his move to Inter, and unfortunately was frozen out of Atalanta, and now he's back to the team gradually. Do you think he's going to find his place? Do you think he's going to find his footing again, or you think this is the end for him with Atalanta and he's just waiting for for January to come and then secure a move? Because we really need Ademola Lookman to be flying high again. The Super Eagles need him. This is like the most important period, in the Super Eagles history when it comes to the World Cup qualification. Yeah. And Ademola Lookman is not really the Ademola Lookman that we've known in some months back. You understand? So is this a good time for him to revive himself? Would he rediscover his form, or he should just look for an exit when January
Well,
comes?
I think you asked two questions. Is this the end for Ademola Lookman at Atalanta? Yes, it is. Will Lookman be able to rediscover himself? Yes, he will. Two truths can coexist. Because one thing I'm very sure of is that Lookman is a world-class player. He's a fantastic player. He's having these rough patches, and that is normal in football. Considering the fact that he had little to no preseason with the team, and he was frozen. He froze himself out. So the preseason friendly games and all, he was not there. So he was training solely in England, and there was no team bond. There's a change of coach. They sold some couple of players. They brought in new players. So there is no chemistry in that. And when you look at Lookman, you will see that no, this is not the Lookman that won African Football of the Year. So I think probably maybe it just needs a change of environment. He's not feeling welcome, and even the fans are not welcoming him. There are banners over everywhere in Bergamo saying you are a betrayer, you betrayed us, we don't want you anymore. It is normal. If I am in the fans' position, I will also complain, because this is someone they all trust, and he went all out against the club, against the fans and everything. So the love is lost, and he should just try as much as possible to use the next couple of... It's just like maybe a month, because we are already in October.
Oh, yes.
October, we have an international break. After the international break, they will play some couple of games. November, and he comes back for African Cup of Nations in December.
And then afterwards,
so then during the African Cup of Nations, the transfer window will open, so he can still push through. But it's just that the value might have dropped, and the offers that were supposed to come in, Arsenal were supposed to buy him.
Oh, yeah.
They will not come back from him.
Rumored. You know, rumored. It wasn't like a concrete move.
Yes,
there wasn't a concrete move for him. You understand?
When you see all of those clubs, aside Inter Milan, I think they've all stacked up. Atletico were rumored to also
to be interested in him.
They're also fine. So most of all those clubs are doing very fine, and unless he wants to move to all those relegation threatening club in England, which I am against.
You know, when you say they are doing fine, with the addition, I beg your pardon, of Ademola Lookman into any club at the moment, you know, it will make them better. They need players like Ademola Lookman, like the reigning African, you know, men's best player. They need players like that. Now, you made mention of something. You said he froze himself out. In a quick response from you, do you think that was justified? Bear in mind, the man needed to leave the club. The relationship was already broken, but you said he froze himself out. Was it justified to have done that, or he should have just,
one thing is that...
Your opinion, anyways.
In my opinion, I think he didn't do the right thing. Yeah, because you have a contract, and you told the club that, okay, the agreement was that we have a gentleman's agreement that if we have an offer, I'm going to leave. And the club told you categorically, in a gentleman agreement, one, it was not written. It was a verbal agreement which can be denied. And they told him, if you have an agreement that suits us from a foreign club, we cannot sell you. You are a very good player. We cannot sell you directly to our rivals. We cannot sell you to Inter, AC, Napoli for a cut price.
But they sold another player to Inter Milan. And there is a relationship between Inter Milan and Atalanta. And the relationship still exists.
What is the value of that player? I even felt like, okay, during the transfer window, Diaz went to Bayern Munich from Liverpool for about 65 million. That is the range Lookman should be going for. Not 40 million to Inter. Even if you want to sell him to Inter, it should not be 40 million. And when you look at Retegui won AS Gosora, and Retegui was new in that team. They sold him for about 80 million to Saudis. So if you are selling a relatively new player for 80 million, or not to talk of African Footballer of the Year, one of the most important players in your history, so you just have to raise the price high. If Arsenal had brought maybe 40 million, they might have sold him. 50 million, they might have sold him. Not Inter, they are direct rivals. No.
Well, so talking about, two truths can exist in one. The main man who never ceases to be away from the headlines in person of Victor Osimhen, and the fans are defending him for the neck grabbing incidents, in Turkish league. What do you think about, very quickly?
Well, I think Nigerian fans might not love to hear this, but I do not like the antics. You might be justifying that Messi grabs snake, Ronaldo grabs snake, but you cannot compare Osimhen to all those players. They are players that, okay, I won't want to play the racism card, but Messi, quote and unquote, everybody thinks is a good boy, is a FIFA boy. So if he's doing something, we all know, okay, these are players that they are generally accepted, but over the transfer window, one of the main reasons why UK media was citing was that his attitude. United did not sign him, Chelsea did not come for him, Arsenal did not come for him because of his attitude.
You say that? So
the media said that. In fact, I think against Liverpool, after he scored against Liverpool, Gary Lineker apologized.
Exactly.
So, and the way you were perceived, I'm not saying Osimhen is a bad player. He's a very good player. He's a world-class striker. He's one of the best in the world to me. But some of this, the media report was that, okay, some of these clubs are citing your attitude. He had history of this. He went on Instagram to lash out on his coach, calling him names.
On his former coach.
So, on his former coach when he was still in Nigeria. So, these are antics that has been there. So, if you are also doing this, so most of this club we feel like, no, we are not, this is not the type of market that we want to be selling. But, well, we are all Iman. if that is if he felt bad, maybe the player injured him, the player attempted to cause injury to him, so he might just react angrily. So, and football is a game of emotion, so you can always react the way it comes. So if you feel maybe you're not being treated well, and he turned to a whole bro. Indeed, he was there protecting him. You are my brother, and you must not fight, because if anything happens to you, our walk up chance is my fault. So we just have to like accept it the way it is, and well, that's his antics. There are many other players, many great players with far worse antics than Anisimova, and
absolutely
it doesn't affect their greatness.
Absolutely doesn't, affect their greatness. And talking about accepting it the way it is, or accepting him the way he is, we have to bring this, particular segment of the show to an end. If you want more, there's a whole lot more on the front page, and even in the meat of the, the edition is inside the paper. So go get your copy. It's here. Just check your vendors, you get your copy. So very quickly, we'll be moving to the other, segments of the show, and we'll be talking about our discussions for today. And very quickly, we'll be starting with the Super Eagles. 2 games to go. Qualification at stake. The World Cup is almost here. We do not know whether Nigeria would qualify for the World Cup. But the big one is that FIFA sanctioned South Africa. They deducted 3 points from them, and then it kind of like threw everything open. Looks like a 3-horse race now for the number 1 ticket in that group is between the Super Eagles, South Africa, Bafana of South Africa, and then Benin Republic. However, our first game is going to be against Benin Republic on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Lesotho, and then the final game against Benin Republic. Will the Super Eagles qualify for the World Cup?
Well, if we are all being optimistic, yes, but I think we cannot make it to the World Cup.
You think?
Yeah,
look at you need to look at the numbers. We are not that far off winning the 2 games. We are not that far off.
What happened is South Africa will be playing their 2 games at home.
Oh yes.
So they need just a win, and the win doesn't even need to be comprehensive. So they just need to like win 2-0. They are already on +3 goal difference.
Yeah.
And which is more than us, and they are on 14 points. So adding 3 points to that, just a win out of 2 games, will take them to 17 points, and we are on 11 points. Winning 2 games will also take us to 17 points.
Yeah, 17
but the thing is, we know over time, since 2023 that we started this, we've been struggling in front of goals. We've been struggling. So we are not a team that can just say, okay, we are going to go to South Africa, beat Lesotho conveniently by 4-0, come to Nigeria, lash out against Uyo by maybe 5-6 goals. That might actually give us an edge. But who says South Africa cannot win 2 games? They're playing at home. So I believe South Africa should be able to like go unbeaten in those 2 games, win 1, draw 1. They are mathematically safe. And who says we are going to beat Benin Republic too? So they can come here, and most teams, far worse teams, came to Uyo, they took a point. So how much more of Benin Republic that is already top? So I think they are more motivated, and they even deserve better. They deserve to be at the World Cup than us. When you also take a look at the fact that they've not been playing at home. They've been playing in Ivory Coast, away from Benin Republic, and they are already top. And also Lesotho that got at the 3 points that FIFA deducted. Yeah. They are also on 11 points alongside us. So they will also want to prove a point. They are hosting South Africa in South Africa. So when they are playing the game, they will want to win. Though it's very slim for them, but winning against Nigeria, which I think it's possible, will also give them edge. And another route that I feel we can go through might be the 2nd place team. But that is also that's a different ball game entirely, because there will be playoffs, maybe world playoffs, and then you play one from maybe CONCACAF. Exactly. So it's a whole lot. I think the job needed to have been done right from the onset, But as it stands, we all eyes will be on Eric Chelle and his guys when they face Lesotho on Friday, and then the next game they up on Tuesday. Yes, exactly. But like he said in his opinion, Nigeria would not get the 1st place. But
this is football. You never know. You just never know what will happen. However, regardless, everybody expecting, that with, FIFA's decision to sanction South Africa, it would, really dent, their morale and the push for, for top sports at the moment. But then some people were complaining actually that why not deduct the point before, the previous qualifiers, before the previous qualifiers, and where they had to play 1-1 against Nigeria. But then, regardless, the points have been deducted. They are still going to appeal. They are still maintaining that they would appeal. I think the window is still open for them to appeal, the decision by FIFA. However, the coach has said that regardless of the points, they are still in pole position and they are not shaking. They are not going to be moved. So very quickly, we are going to move on, from World Cup qualifiers. We know this very show will bring it back, when the game is played, and we will give you the best of the analysis. However, very quickly, we'll move to one of the interesting parts of this show, and we're talking about the games that went down at the weekend, and we're starting with the English Premier League. Games like, Arsenal went, they won 2-0 over the weekend, but the biggest one, even Manchester City, they won 1-0 against Brentford. Manchester United returned to winning ways. They won 2-0 against Sunderland, although I think some people are still not convinced that Manchester United are back. They had opportunities, to get back, to show the world that they are back. When they played Chelsea, they won that game. It was, somewhat controversial. It was a game of cards. Anyways, red cards everywhere. Both teams had red cards. But then they had an opportunity against Brentford. It was supposed to be a statement win for them, but unfortunately the cards turned and they stumbled, like Shegun would say, they fell like a pack of cards. Now Manchester United went back to Old Trafford, and it looks like Old Trafford is becoming a fortress. So let's start with Manchester United before we go to the biggest game of the weekend in the English Premier League. What do you think? Is this a comeback for Amorim and his boys, or it's just because they played Sunderland? What do you think?
Well, what I think is that Manchester United are not back. As I don't know if that is harsh, but the thing is, when you look at the trends, since Amorim joined last year, they are yet to win consecutive games. So
consecutive games both home and away. However, they've won consecutive games for the first time under Amorim at home, and they've won like 3 games now straight at home.
So I believe going away, coming home, going away. So that might have its own effect, and maybe the momentum they will have built on might be playing all these games consecutively, but all their players will go back on international break.
Exactly.
Before gathering back, maybe the complacency that has been there before might set in again, and we will see the default 16, 17 place Manchester United.
Now, talk about defaults. Remember Amorim came, to the press over the week or over the weekend, I beg your pardon, and he said that the press is confusing his players because of their remarks concerning his formation. And he said regardless of the formation that he uses, whether it's 4-4-2, whether it's 4-3-1, whether it's 4-5-1, if he's not getting the right attitudes from his players, it would still be all complaints, and they are still possibly going to lose regardless of the formation. So what he's saying is that the attitude from his players that he needs from his players is why he's using that formation. But he's saying that the press are getting into the head of his players. Very quick on that.
I do not think that is right, because all of his players are professional players, and he is not the only coach the press are targeting. Press will always be praised. They will always do their job. So if you want to say maybe he's blaming everybody but himself, we all know.
Oh, wow.
And here in Nigeria, I know that, okay, these 3 at the back is not working. I know that, okay, Luke Shaw should not be playing here. And Luke Shaw is even more offensive-minded and better than on the left flank. So everybody knows this tactics is not working except you. So if you now feel maybe some of these players, no, the players know, they see things. Though they will hear things, but when Chelsea were struggling, they attacked Chelsea. Arteta is here to win league trophy. I think this is his 6th season at Arsenal. The press are targeting them. So when Pep was losing back-to-back last season, they so it is normal. And if you're now saying maybe the press reports is affecting the psychology of your player, then I think that shows you are a bad coach. And the best way out for Manchester United, to me, is just for them to sack him, because he's not.
Oh wow, that's a bit.
Because he has underperformed. Because when you take a look at, I think, the past 7 months, Manchester United has only won 7 games. So that is an average of 1 win per month. It is not acceptable. at that big club, a club with 20 Premier League titles, 1 win per month now. That you are playing up to like maybe 7-6 games in a month. You should not be winning just one. So that is unacceptable. And maybe Ratcliffe is just looking at the fact that, okay, we've been changing managers over the years. Maybe we should stick to this one. But you should not stick with someone that finished 16, lost the Europa League final, failed to secure any tickets, and it doesn't look like he's going to win any trophy, and still lost to maybe Division 3 or Division 4 team. So I don't think he's the right person for Manchester United. Yeah.
Oh, well, whether he's the right person for Manchester United or not, there's one club who is sticking with their manager, and that's Arsenal. 2-0 over the weekend, and they are top of the table. Sticking with Mikel Arteta. You know, everybody's saying that this has to be it. This has to be the season. This has to be the Arteta season. And then, you know, everything they have been working on, they have been building. The process has to get to the destination this very season. 2-0 for Arsenal, and they are top of the table. But that was not what kept them on top of the table. It was the big game at the weekend. Chelsea versus Liverpool. 2-1. It was a massive encounter between Chelsea and Liverpool, and the defeat for Liverpool ensured that Arsenal stayed top of the table for this weekend and throughout the international break. Talk about the game, Chelsea versus Liverpool. 2-0. 2-1, I beg your pardon. Did you expect Liverpool to lose that game against Chelsea?
Well, I think I was not expecting Liverpool to win. I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was not expecting Liverpool.
You know, you have to bear in mind that they were coming from 2 straight defeats.
Yeah, that is
in
why
the league and then the Champions League. Yeah. Victor Osimhen was instrumental to their defeat in the Champions League. But nobody would have thought that, would have expected, like a resurgence from Liverpool, a bounce back sort of.
Because the issue is when you look at Liverpool this season, I think they've scored in the last 10 minutes of the game for about maybe 5 or 6 times this season. They've not been performing very well. They might be leading 2-0 and the game will maybe almost finish 2-2 before scoring the third goal deep into the extra time. So it has been a trend over the season. Their first game, their second game, almost all the games this season. So, and you should know that, okay, what is the problem? If the problem is not solved, and you should also know that, okay, this trend will not continue forever. There might be times that you might be targeting a goal late into the game, and you will not see the goal. Times like that will happen, and that was what happened against Crystal Palace. They eventually got the goal, even though the goal shouldn't have stood against Crystal Palace when Salah undid the ball. But the goal stood. But ironically, they also conceded another late goal. So against Liverpool, they conceded an early goal. They were unable to come into the game, grind out a draw or a win like they used to. And against Chelsea, I felt like, okay, Maresca also needed a statement win. So he needed to win. He needed to win that game because he's also under pressure. So because of the fact that he lost to Manchester United, his tactics has been questioned and a whole lot of things. And Chelsea also has a defensive crisis. So we were expecting, okay, maybe this is a game that can go anywhere. I was not expecting Liverpool to win. My prediction for that game maybe should have been a draw. But when I saw the first half of the game, I think Chelsea can win this game because they were not that productive up front, and if they can just be more clinical up in the final third, they can get the win. And thankfully, Estava Williams
scored the goal. So a video, I don't know if you saw the video of Estava Williams while he was playing drums in his church. I think it went viral, I think around yesterday, this morning. What a way to start his career in Chelsea, scoring the winning goal in one of the biggest games of the season for Chelsea. When you talk about teams, the top teams in the Premier League, you talk about Liverpool, you talk about Arsenal, you talk about, Manchester City, and then you go to like Chelsea, Tottenham, and there have you. Now, on the top five teams on the table as we speak, going into the international break, there's one team who you would not expect to be top at this moment, and that's Bournemouth. I think they sit fourth, even ahead of Manchester City. Yeah. Do you think this will be their breakout season? Do you think they would, get the tickets to Europe? Just a very quick one before we move to the next thing.
Well, I believe they will not. Well, getting to Europe should not be that hard. But if you take a look at precedents of what we even saw last season, Nottingham Forest was second at the point in time, and everybody.
And they should be playing in the Europa League.
They should.
All things being equal. If not, for the little issue that they had, and then FIFA had to step in, and then
they played. Qualified for Conference League, but they were upgraded to Europa League. Palace clash with UEFA.
Oh yeah, that's Palace. I beg your pardon.
So, but the thing is, do they have the squad depth to take it through the season? No,
that's
I
a big
think
one. Do they have the squad depth?
They are riding on Semenyo's form, and I don't think it is possible for him to keep up this form over the season. When you are not Messi Ronaldo, and Messi Ronaldo were not doing it at Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace, they were doing it at the biggest of clubs. So even if you want to be consistent all through the season, even Mohamed Salah is presently off form. Haaland is in form, but at a point in time, you will still slow down. So you will definitely slow down. If he slows down, maybe Kluivert and some other players will step up, score, assist, create goals from anywhere and win as a team. Maybe we are going to see a repeat of Leicester in 2016. Not winning the league, but at least making top 4, top 5, or top 5 might qualify for Champions League.
Yeah, maybe it depends on
maybe they might gas out along the season. But I feel they are being carried single-handedly by Semenyo now. So most of everything they are doing now still relies on Semenyo. If they are able to distribute the goals, the assists, the every other thing, so maybe they might eventually make it to the top 5 or Champions League spots.
Maybe they might eventually make it to the top 5 or Champions League spots. We'll move away from the English Premier League and quickly to the Spanish La Liga. Something beautiful went down over the weekend. It was last weekend that Real Madrid lost massively in the Madrid derby against Atletico. And, it was like, the Alonso honeymoon was over. And Barcelona are back to the top of the table. And it was as though Barcelona were not going to leave that top of the table. But it didn't take too long. It didn't take too long at all. And guess what? Sevilla thumped and humiliated Barcelona 4-1 yesterday, and it allowed Real Madrid, because Real Madrid won their game 3-1, and they returned to the top of the table. So very quickly, start with Real Madrid, and then we'll go to Barcelona, Sevilla. Real Madrid are back winning again. Do you think that they would maintain this momentum? Is this a season where they feel like, we have a perfect replacement for Carlo Ancelotti in the person of Xabi Alonso?
Well, I think Alonso is a very good manager.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But so far, I've not seen the philosophy I was expecting, because a lot of people complained that, over the years, Carlo Ancelotti is not someone that is tactically sound. He's a very good manager, but some coaches, they are tactically sound. Someone like Pep. Pep is all about his tactics. He always wants people to stick with his tactics. Let
me cut you for a minute there. You said, he's not all too tactically sound, the person of Carlo Ancelotti. Yeah. How many Champions League did he win again?
No,
as a coach. As a coach.
How many? We won about 6.
About 6 Champions League, and that's the first coach to do that. And you say he's not tactically sound.
One thing about,
mind you, mind you, he did that with AC Milan, and then he did with Real Madrid. Those are the biggest teams, biggest of clubs, and you can't be, you can't be ordinary to do things that he has done. You can't say he's not tactically sound. You might say, you might say that maybe the times have changed because of, the game. Season in, season out, games change. The way the game is being played changes. You understand? You can say that, but saying that he's not tactically sound kind of looks like a disrespect on his person.
Not
Personally,
really.
I feel
disrespecting Carlo. Carlo is top 3 greatest manager of all time to me.
Sure.
But the thing is, in football, in this line of field, what happens is there are some managers that, what they are good with is man management. Make sure that, I have Ronaldo, I have Bale, I have Benzema, I have Mbappe, Vinicius. Manage all these players to go on the field of play and deliver. And there are some that, if Mbappe is playing at the right wing, once it drops to center forward or drops down, you don't accept that. Those are managers that they are very rigid with their tactics. They do not change. They are Carlo is not someone like that. Carlo can use 4-3-3, 5-4-1. He doesn't care. So Vinicius can play left back.
But is that not being tactically sound? If you can switch formations, change formations.
So one thing is, all managers rely on individual brilliance of their players.
Yeah.
But Carlo is someone that thrives with individuality of his players. So if this is what you can do, go and do it on the field of play. It gives all his player freedom. So you are free to do this. In as much as this is going to deliver results. That is what he did at Chelsea, winning the league in 2010. He did it at PSG. He has been doing it over the years.
You speak like you have a first-hand information of what's going on in the back room.
Man manager. That is how he operates. That is why you will see maybe last season and years back, you will see Real Madrid actually has no pattern. They don't have a definite style. Okay, this is the style we're playing. No. So it's not someone with a rigid philosophy. If he's coming here, he is playing to maybe the ability of his player. He always delivers. So if that is what works for him, fine, it works. But last season, I think that was part of what affected him. Mbappe was just coming in full time in his career as a number 9, and now he's scoring. Mbappe struggled towards the start of last season, and towards the end he peaked. But a lot of injury crisis affected Real Madrid. And Xabi Alonso, when he came in, a lot of people expected, okay, we know, okay, this is the way you are playing. We are expecting you to like instill your style, but Real Madrid was still playing more like last season. So that was where I faulted him. But one thing I know is that he's a very good manager and he can turn things around. And one thing about La Liga is that it is definitely going to go down to the wire. Until match day 38, the league might not be won, and it is going to be this way. Barcelona, Real Madrid, maybe Atletico, maybe they might do a spoiler, but I don't see them joining the pack this season. It is going to be a 2-horse race like it was last season, and maybe any of them can win, but I'm tipping Real Madrid to eventually grab another league title.
And there you have it. It's tipping Real Madrid to eventually win the La Liga title for this season. However, like you said, it's going to be a 2-horse race, and the heat is already on with, Barcelona losing 4-1 to Sevilla, allowing Real Madrid to go top of the table again. Now, we don't know what's going to happen after the international break, but there's something that I know that will happen, that regardless of whatever happens, we'll be right here to let you know how it all went down. So our producers are saying it's time to call it a wrap for today's show. It's been a pleasure to be here. Like Shegun will say, be safe and stay out of trouble. From me and my co-host Olamide here, we say have a wonderful day, and we are going to leave you with Retro Sport. Thank you very much, and do have a nice day.